What's up, Magnetic Men Club community? We're here for our weekly live. We're actually repurposing these as a podcast and stuff too, so you guys can listen to this stuff on the go. So maybe on your commute to work, maybe while you're at work, just trying to pass the time, that kind of stuff. On in the background, it's going to be on Spotify and iTunes here pretty soon. We've got it on YouTube already. You can always reference our playlist on our channel. It's already marked with podcast, all that kind of stuff too. So if you want to listen to these lives in the background, feel free to do so. And so, like I said, all the links that you guys need are all below. We have the free breakthrough sessions with Jerod here on the website. All that stuff's live. You can go request those sessions now. And then in addition to that, we've actually got our Facebook group and everything up and rolling too. So make sure you get in there and join the conversation in there. Make sure you're asking your questions here live if you guys want us to answer anything for you. So the topic and stuff that we're discussing today too, the link for the video for that is below as well. Jerod actually talks a lot about the different things that women kind of do with this topic. What is the topic today? Sorry, give me 1 second. So why we tend to want things we can't have. So I know that Jerod covered 9 different things as far as women wanting things that they can't have, that kind of stuff too. But it's men and women in this case.
Universal.
And so let's just kind of jump into it. Why do you think people in general want what they can't have?
Yeah, there's, in the video, we kind of discussed the 9, you could say major things. There's probably a ton more. I just highlighted, the 9, but a lot of it just has to do with, a lot of it's ego-based. Nobody likes to be told no, or they can't have something,
right? Yeah,
or
exactly.
You can't do this. So, we all want it. It doesn't really matter if it's a guy or a girl. Obviously, this is a men's channel. Leveling up men. But if women are watching this, you can really just flip the script, and it goes, because we're all people.
True.
And so yeah, it all involves our ego. And our egos, all of our egos can act like toddlers sometimes. So when we can't have something, we tend to freak out, flip out.
Right.
And, we throw tantrums at the demands that we don't have. And, there was a funny meme I saw on Facebook probably a couple days ago, and it kind of highlighted on a woman's side as far as this wanting what they can't have and getting attention. And it said something like, I'm sleeping like a baby knowing that this boy I like doesn't like me, but he still gave me his attention, so I won. And so it does illustrate
definitely
on our ego. Yeah, it does illustrate a lot on, our ego just plays into this a lot. And so we got to check our egos on somebody doesn't want us. You got to kind of look into, is this ego? Do I even want this person? Do I even want this thing? Or do I want it just because I can't have it?
We see it as a trope in society everywhere too, like in movies and stuff like that too. Like movies make a lot of jokes and stuff around it. Like, do you think a lot of people kind of treat it as a game? Like kind of think it's like a game, or maybe they treat it like it's a sport for them. Like they have to make sure that they get every single thing they want all the time. And if they don't know how to get what they want, they kind of throw those tantrums and the ego kind of gets involved with it. What do you think it is?
Yeah, a lot of it could just be, if you're talking about in the dynamics of dating, guys typically fall into this. It's their projection. And so they go out on a first date and they're already projecting the second date, marriage, kids. They have this incredible image in their head already on this first date. And they're completely shocked when they don't get a second date. It rocks them. And so this ties into wanting what you can't have too, because we're so, mostly men, women as well, but we create this narrative in our head that, if X, Y, and Z are exactly what we want, then it's difficult to let it go. And so this narrative that we create pushes too much, I think, into this idea of, do we even really want this person, or do we want the idea of this person?
Right.
And so, we all, and again, girls live out this projection too, but it does definitely explain why you never get a phone call back. and you're devastated that you didn't get the call back or you didn't get a text back. So we put all of our
exactly.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I tend to think it's more guys on that side, because women don't. Women have a wait and see attitude. They want the guy to call back maybe if they like him and all that, but they're not immediately thinking husband, kids.
Right.
They're on a more wait and see. Okay, it was a great first date. Let's see how the second date goes type things. But guys, we're really good at, projecting.
Well, at the end of the day, too, like I think it's really just the way that we're wired. Like not as guys or like as women or anything. It's really just humans in general. Like I think even big companies and corporations and governments even like play on this a lot too.
Yeah.
Like with scarcity and exclusivity and that kind of stuff too. Like when something's kind of on the other side of a wall, it makes you want it even more because you can't have it because you have to achieve something first, or maybe you have to have a certain status or something along those lines, and that's what makes you want it more. And so it's like why a lot of people want to be famous, right? So it's really just the way that we're wired. It's really just kind of ingrained in our brains internally, I think. And so how do you think those things kind of play into scarcity and exclusivity, and like when we can't have certain things?
Yeah, you hit it right in the head when you said the scarcity kind of mindset, because that is a psychological phenomenon. When you see something expensive or rare or even desirable, our subconscious mind automatically makes us think about having it more than something that's in an abundance.
Right.
So like if I told you I had, I don't know, 100 apples in my fridge, and I asked you if you wanted one, you'd probably be like, 100? I don't want 100 apples. But if I said I only have one apple in my fridge, it might tempt you enough to take that apple because it is rare. And so that plays in, like marketing is big. All my companies, even my scalp company, we do play into that scarcity. You want to be that scarce person, or you want to be that desirable person so that you're perceived more valuable. You don't want to be like everybody else. You don't want to have this be abundant. You don't want that. You want to be rare. And so if you can create that, if you can create that rarity or that specialness about you, you level yourself up. You become a little bit more of that. I want this guy, or I want this.
I mean, it's true universally too. It's not even just you as a person. Like definitely you want to be that person, but at the end of the day too, like you can do that with your business. You can do that with anything you're kind of really passionate about, like anything in general. Like really, when you start to kind of put it on the other side of a wall and tell people they can't have it, it makes them want it more. Like this stuff is so ingrained in our brains and our heads. It's even in the Bible, right? Like the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, right?
Yeah.
So that's a major story in the Bible. That's like one of the first things we actually hear in there. And so in Genesis and that kind of stuff. And so it's so ingrained in us, I think, that like I don't think we really even realize it a lot of the time, that like people are playing on it, or that companies are playing on this, or the governments or religion or anything like that is kind of playing on this and telling us stories and keying into those kinds of things that we have innate inside of us, right? That we've kind of evolved with. And so what are your thoughts on that? Like how the forbidden fruit phenomenon affect our level of satisfaction when we finally do get what we want? So like, do you think that when we finally actually get what we want, that we want it less, or how does it affect that level in general?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of the forbidden fruit kind of reminds me of another, I guess, psychological term. It's called, I believe it's called the endowment effect. And that basically states or says that we place undue value on something we have a sense of ownership on. So in that sense of Adam and Eve, I mean, if you went with that, God created, Adam in his image, and then he created Eve. But if we have this ownership effect, this plays out a lot in relationships, but it also can play out in, you own your brand, you own who you are. And so I guess where I'm going with this is because we have this heightened aversion to losing things, we use an X, because we do a lot of coaching with X. I want to get my X back, or I want to get my life back, and all that. So if you have this heightened aversion to losing your X, she's already gone, he's already gone, but you want her back, you have this sense of ownership. Not that you own them, but your mind is, she's part of me. She's mine. So if you put it in the context of that, it's like, do you want your ex back because you want your ex back, or do you want your ex back because she belongs to you?
Kind of like the chase is better than the catch, right?
Yeah, it's not that you want her back because you want her back. You're losing the sense of ownership in a way. And so that's kind of how the endowment effect works. And, having this feeling of ownership makes you unwilling to give up. And, you value them more simply because you see them as already yours. So you're placing all this value on them because they're already yours. And just because of their ex, your brain doesn't know the difference.
Right.
So you can kind of apply that to not just you can apply it to all kinds of relationships.
Right.
But you can also apply it to your work. Why do you want to get this other job when this job satisfies you? I mean, is it because you're trying to level up? Great. But is it because you're not qualified for that job and you want it because you can't have it?
Right.
It affects the same thing. Okay, so you want it because it's not available.
Well, and that kind of makes it a critical issue. So that's the thing too, is like thinking like if this kind of affects your life in that way, like it affects the relationship that you're in, it affects the different types of jobs that you might have, and maybe a lot of the things that are making you miserable in life are because of this kind of mechanism at work, right? Like, what do you think like about like all the way from childhood and stuff too, like having those different childhood experiences where maybe we were afraid of abandonment, where maybe that we got everything we wanted, maybe we were spoiled by a certain grandparent or something like that. What kind of childhood experiences do you think kind of play into this and kind of shape and mold us over time? How do you think this more or less shapes and molds our life moving forward?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the more competitive in nature you are, the harder it is to kind of accept when things don't go your way. You just want them. Like, I'm that way. Things just need to go my way. And so I work on this a lot, like maybe if I broke up with somebody and, it wasn't my fault, let's just say, maybe I always dwell on this. I'm like, okay. And it takes me a while to really understand, do I even really want this person back? Or is it because I wasn't the one that broke up with them? And then if I could break up with them, then I'd be fine. Like, what is the reason? And so, sure, in the video, I kind of use that cookie analogy when your mom says, don't have a cookie before dinner because you're going to spoil your appetite. Well, what do? You're going to low crawl. You're going to try to find your way and grab that cookie. And it's the best fucking cookie you've ever had. So these little things as you get, as you grow up, and you might have one parent favoring you, the other one not, and you're always used to getting your way. Yeah, it definitely could. I could see how it could spill into it, but I think it's more of just your competitive drive, like the type of person you're wired to be on this specific topic of wanting what you can't have. If you're very competitive, this is a hard one for people to swallow. Nobody wants a competitive person ever to be told no, or you can't do this, because they're going to prove to you they're going to do it. And
that's the thing too, is I think whether it's good for them or not, whether it affects their life or not, it's just that their competitive nature compels them to do this. And so that's really kind of what it is. And so I think that this is one particular topic that kind of is really ingrained in us as humans, as a society, and that kind of stuff too. I think that this is one thing that really, like I said, kind of shapes and molds your life moving forward. And so it's something that you've got to kind of tiptoe around and be careful with. It's something I think that you should have a certain amount of awareness around so that you can kind of figure out exactly if this is helping you, if this is harmful to you, kind of where you need to work on things with this kind of stuff. It's really not that obvious. I think in other certain ways too, like there's a self-sabotage aspect to it. So like, does fear of rejection or failure play into our desire for things that we can't have?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And this is two parts, because there's also, on the biological side, it's that dopamine hit. However many times, I know you're married, but let's say in the beginning when you were dating Kim.
Yeah.
And you're really into her, and you send a message, and she sends you one back. It's not the fact that she sent you the message, it's the fact that you got a dopamine hit. You got a hit of the happy hormone. And so you chase that happy hormone. So yes, it's because of her.
Our brains are pretty much drug addicts all the time. So that's pretty much
it is. So if you can separate the person from the dopamine hit and understand, is the text I'm getting from this person, is it because I want the text? Probably.
Right.
It's the hit. It's that little drug. It's that little drop you get.
Right.
And so what makes this worse is, the way dopamine works is, so let's just say Kim was sort of breadcrumbing you in the beginning, like she's trying to play hard to get or whatever, or what have you. And so her message was very intermittent. Well, what does that do to your dopamine when you get it 3 hours later? It actually, you crave it more because you're not getting it consistently. So it plays in both things that you said is, yes, we all want that dopamine hit. We want that hot girl to message us back, or that cute boy or whatever. We all want that. But if this hot girl or cute boy is sort of vague and not really interested in you, you're going to try harder.
Right.
Well, you're trying harder to get her, possibly, but you're trying harder to get that dopamine hit. So
I think that we can kind of have a tendency to perceive it that way sometimes too. Like maybe somebody's just busy. Like maybe they're just there at work, or maybe they're doing something else in their life. You don't know what their life is. You don't know what's going on a lot of the time too. Like they got stuff going on. They got a whole life they're living, man. Like you're not the center of it. And so I think that a lot of people can be vain in that way. And that's their ego too, is like, I should be the center of this person's life. And it's like, well, I mean, should you? At the end of the day, I mean, I think a lot of us have a tendency to perceive it that way, that like, oh, she's ignoring me on purpose or whatever. And then that kind of goes off in a way.
Yeah, I mean, whether you think that she's ignoring you or not, I guess the point would just be, when we get that message, we get the hit. When we don't get the message, but we get a message later, we still get the hit, but there's that lag time. Yeah. And so it makes that hit much more. Like you got an extra shot, like, oh my God, she finally texted me. I thought I did something wrong or whatever.
No, for sure.
And so the second part, I mean, we also all compare ourselves, and this is a form of not having what you want, because comparison, it's the death of joy. If you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, what they have, and you want what they have, that's wanting what you can't have. And so if you get into that mindset of always comparing yourself to people, that's where it gets a little, it's good to strive to maybe get that cool car your friend has.
Have a gauge for it. Yeah.
Sure. But it's one thing to always compare yourself to other people, and we do that, and that's more of the that's more the extreme side of wanting what you can't have. But we all do it. We all compare ourselves, all of us.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
And then you got to ask yourself: do you really want what that person has?
Well, maybe it goes deeper than that too. Like maybe it's not necessarily what that person has, or maybe it's like maybe the life that person more or less resembles that you want. And I think it's important to understand when we're jealous and to pay attention to when we're jealous. I don't think it's important to kind of play on those feelings. I don't think that you should really be feeling jealous, but I think you should pay attention to when you feel jealous, because there's something there that you need to kind of mull over. Is there something there that person has that you want? And does it go deeper than the surface level things? Like maybe they have a nice car, maybe they have a hot wife, maybe they have a really good job or whatever, maybe they're traveling the world all the time, whatever it is about that person that you want. Like really, maybe it's just that lifestyle that they resemble. And those are the kinds of things that you should be visualizing for yourself, because it's not necessarily that person has it, or maybe that person shouldn't have it. It has nothing to do with that person. Just be happy with that for that person, right?
Yeah.
And stay in your lane and get what you want. But like I said, pay attention to those things, because when you're jealous of something, there's something that person has that you want, and you need to know what that thing is.
Or the other part is jealousy and comparison, the same thing.
Right.
We also, I think where the jealousy stems from is we think we should have them.
Right.
Not want them. We think we should have them. And so you want to ask yourself, do we really want that car? Or do we want it because we think we should have it? Like Jim's graduated high school just like I do. Why is he making $500,000 a year and I'm only making 60? Well, you're comparing it. Now you're getting jealous, but maybe Jim worked his ass off. Maybe he got lucky, maybe not, who knows? But so why do you think you should have what he has? And do you even want what he has, or you think you just think you deserve it? That's the key. These are the questions you have to ask when you're comparing somebody, yourself to somebody else. You want that lifestyle.
Point. Like that's a really important point too, because like I think that a lot of people, when they're jealous of something, like maybe it isn't something that you want. Maybe it's just that person shouldn't have it. That person's maybe less intelligent than you, or maybe that person, like they didn't really try as hard as you did. Maybe you got better grades. Maybe you got better scores. Maybe you did more work. Whatever it is, that person has something that you think you should have, but you have to ask yourself importantly, like, is that really something that you want? Or maybe there's something else that you want. I think that focusing on yourself is always the most important thing here. Is like, okay, why am I feeling like this? I think that's the most important thing to kind of ask yourself is, why am I feeling like this? Why am I jealous of this person? Why am I mad at this person who is just posting this post on Facebook or whatever it is, right? Or they're just driving by you on the street and you just start thinking all this stuff, and it's just it's poison, man. Like you got to get those thoughts out of your head, but you have to understand why they're there too.
Yeah, and then we're also very stubborn. The stubborn side of us, we think and we like to hear what we can't have something. Excuse me, my throat's a little dry.
Oh, no worries, yeah.
We all want this feeling or this illusion of control in our lives. And so hearing or feeling no from somebody, we're basically at the mercy of that person or that thing.
Right.
We don't have control. Hey, do you want to go out with me? No. I don't have control of it. And then you get stubborn. And so what you end up doing is, in the video, I kind of went on this, you try harder. Well, it was already a no.
Right.
You try harder. And then you just keep pushing yourself further into the hole.
Right.
So stubborn or being stubborn also has a lot to do with this, this illusion as well.
Well, like I said, I think that awareness is a big factor here because I think a lot of people do this and they don't even know that they're doing it. Like they don't even know that they're kind of playing into these desires, these kind of like innate things inside of us. They don't even know that they have experiences from the past that might even like cause them to play into these things too.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it's important to pay attention to these things. It's important to have a certain level of awareness around these things so that you can kind of figure out exactly what it is that you need to work on. Because like I said, some of these things, they can be healthy for certain things, but I think for a lot of reasons, we use them in a lot of unhealthy ways. And so that's really the biggest thing here is like having that awareness so you know exactly what types of unhealthy behavior you might be playing into.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then, another kind of interesting one is just, because I like this, just loving the chase. And so
for sure.
we all have had this in the past, but just loving the chase. So, you almost think, are they playing hard to get? Like, what's the deal? And so even in my companies, I love the thrill of starting a new company. I love the thrill of,
for sure.
creating and all this. So I often have to stop myself and kind of diagnose, do I even really like this person at all? Or is it she's just playing hard to get or whatever, and I'm playing into it. And oftentimes it's like, I don't even like this person, it's, but the younger me would have been, oh, okay, it's time to go,
Yeah.
But yeah, we all are guilty of this, men and women. We're all guilty of it. But the downside to it is if you play into it too much, you can wreck your marriage. You can wreck a good, say, relationship you have. You can ruin whatever work you do, you know, by always wanting maybe what your boss has, and you start getting very defensive and mad about it. Well, you might get fired, or
Right.
you might be starting a business and you're starting to make a little money and you start blowing it on all the things you think you should have instead of reinventing it in your business.
That impulsive behavior. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I have done some work where we want to morph more into this when we do coaching, because we do it a lot on business side. When we have our business clients, a lot of this plays into it because they want the next level.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, they think they should already have it. Like, well, you haven't gotten there yet.
And the big thing too is that business is hard, man. Like business is really hard. Like, and that's the biggest thing too, is like, if you really think and grow rich, like one of the main key pieces of advice he gives you in that book is to start a mastermind. And the reason being is that you need multiple people around you. You need multiple brains in it so that you're not making these reckless decisions.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of bouncing these ideas off of each other. And so that's the biggest thing too, is this topic in general, I like mostly because it's just not an obvious one. It's not one that I think we really think too much about. It's not one that I think we take that seriously too often. But it's one that you really should be aware of and that you really should be taking seriously, because it can affect your life drastically and it can make you really unhappy. And so that's one of the biggest things.
Think of how many marriages have failed because the partner wanted something they couldn't have. Maybe it was a mistress. Right. Maybe it was this girl at work, and you know, he did the forbidden fruit and went there because he wanted it so bad. He ruined his marriage, or she ruined a marriage by maybe stepping out on the husband. It all stems from this. On all those 9 things we laid out in the video, and we just did the same 9 ones, basically, all of that stems from just just wanting what you can't have. And so the key is appreciating that you want it, working towards, maybe, do you really want it? Then how do I get to that? How do I get that thing? But then really asking yourself, do I even want it? Or do I just think I should have it? I deserve it. Why? I don't know. Okay. Great. You know? And so you really got to self-reflect on this. And every time a situation comes up where, like you said, jealousy or just that little competition, like, is this going to improve my life by doing this? And if it's not, then do I really want it, or do I just can't have it, so I want it?
Then the thing is too, is even if you get it, you'll realize that, like, oh, well, I have it now and it's not that cool. So, and that's the thing too, is like, that's a bitter place to be, because like you had all this excitement for it before, and now you have it and that excitement is gone. And now you're just here and you're bitter and you're wondering why. Like, I wanted this thing for so long and now I finally got it and now I don't even want it. And so then you're just left unhappy. You're left in this miserable situation. Like I said, you really just are robbing yourself of your joy with a lot of this stuff. And so the biggest thing too is it's impulsive behavior. Like, you're dealing with impulsive behavior. And so you want to curb the impulsive behavior. And the biggest thing you can do is exercise discipline. There's a lot of things, a lot of techniques, a lot of exercises and stuff that you can do, a lot of stuff that we can give you as resources inside the program too, to help you exercise more discipline. That's actually a course and stuff that we're working on as well. But like I said, I mean, it's just discipline. You got to have discipline. You got to be able to curb your impulsive behavior. You got to be able to tell yourself yes and no, that kind of stuff, and have awareness around when this stuff's happening. So how do you think someone can identify and move past the struggle of wanting someone or something that they can't have?
I mean, as far as identifying, we did like the top 9, and if the guys and the girls are in here and they're kind of resonating with, that's me. You know, I guess the better question is, if you're still unsure, get on a good coaching program. You know, we have one. You get on with us, and we can kind of help you go through some of these some of these beliefs. But it's learning just to really love what's good for you, because a lot of this stuff isn't good for you. We just want it. So, you know, and again, a perfect example, we go through some, you know, guys that are going through a divorce. And maybe the divorce was their fault, it was infidelity or whatever the reason is. The reason itself doesn't really matter. It's what made you get to that reason. And it's stepping out in the marriage. Well, they didn't really love what was good for them. What was good for them is stay in the marriage, work on the marriage, be in a family with the father and the mother in the family, raising the kids. That's the better option. But you did something because you couldn't have it. And it's the analogy with the cookie jar. It was great when nobody caught you. That's the best effing cookie ever. But when you could have it, so this is what happens to a lot of guys that go through a divorce. They go and women, I would argue more women go through this than men. They leave the marriage because of whatever reason. They think the grass is always going to be greener on the other side. They think there's going to be an unlimited supply of hot guys who want to date them. And then they realize what the reality is. There's 95% douchebags that just want to sleep with them. And then the other 5% are so sought after, they have the pick. So then they start realizing, well, shit, I maybe my marriage wasn't that bad. Maybe we could have worked on it. Well, now it's too late. So you really want to stop in the beginning and just look at it. Is what I wanted, what I couldn't have. Now I have it. Now I have the divorce. Now I'm a free woman or a free man. I can go out and date whoever I want. And they see the dating pool's got piss all in it. And it's just not there.
Well, that's the big thing too, is then you get to a point where you're on the other side of it now. Now you had what you had, and now you want what you had, but you no longer have that anymore.
It's the circle again. So now
yeah.
So if this is a lot bigger than a lot of people kind of give it credit for. They think it's cute play on words, but this can kind of run part of the software that is in your that's wired into you. And the best part of software, you can upgrade it, you can change it, you can delete it, but
reprogram it. Yep.
You gotta recognize it. And so what my work focuses on is a lot of men going through the divorce, going through a bad breakup. Maybe you've never really dated that much or very little. This comes into play way more than maybe they even realize, because we don't put the label on it, wanting what they can't have. We just put the label on their limiting beliefs. And so when they can actually just learn to love what's good for you, what is the best option for you, then that actually stops a lot of this. It really does, especially before the divorce or before the breakup, kind of getting back to that base and that base level. Like, what's good for me? Is she good for me? Can we work on this? Or do I really want to bang the Starbucks barista because she's so hot?
Well, what kind of satisfaction are you going to get out of that? Like, okay, let's say you get the barista. Okay, cool. Awesome. Like, so I think that a lot of people, they get so impulsive with this stuff.
Yeah.
They just take action on it. They don't stop and think about, okay, well, what if I got the barista? What exactly would happen in my life if I got the barista? Awesome. Are you trying to have a relationship with her? Are you trying to just bang and move on? Like, how is this important to you? What exactly are you trying to achieve here? I think stopping and really thinking about it in those terms kind of really makes it obvious to you. It could be a bad choice, right?
Right. Yeah. And then also, like you said, a lot of the time, once you actually have it, because women are guilty of this, I can explain that in a minute. Once you actually have it, you don't want it.
Right.
So and I've talked to a lot of women about this. One of the reasons why in some of our videos and in my coaching, I say you're in a better position than men. Let's say here's a quick tip for the guys out there and for the women on the why. When you're in a relationship and you're actually in a relationship, you're not just dating, like you a couple weeks in, a month, whatever, whenever you guys official, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah.
Always better that the woman chases in that relationship a little bit more, because she can control the relationship, how fast it's going. Where men, we're so ignorant, we'll just too much, too fast, blah, blah, blah. So if you follow that logic in the beginning, the woman wants a little bit of a challenge. She doesn't want the guy date one or date two, I love you. oh my God, our kids are going to be amazing. I can't wait till we get married. She's going to be like, number one, she's going to be like, this guy's a psycho. But number two, I already got this guy. Like, I didn't even sleep with him yet. I already got him. She doesn't want him anymore. She's like, right. So it even plays into something like that.
Yeah.
There's no thrill. There's no chase. There's no, every Monday he goes out with the guys and, what's he doing? Is he really out with the guys? They need that. They need that little mystery. If you remove that and you go too fast, too soon, this idea of wanting what you can't have, you just blew it. You blew it right out of the water. She already knows she can have you.
Yep.
She's going to lose interest. Guaranteed. It's going to happen. I've seen it over and over and over again. The playbook just gets, the page turns, it goes back again. So it even starts with the beginning parts of your dating on that, understanding that, just using this not for evil, but for understanding.
Well, and that's the big thing too, is once you start to realize that there is real power in understanding this stuff, like there is real power in really wrapping your mind and having awareness for this stuff, not just awareness for yourself, but awareness for everybody else too. Like you can really see 10 steps ahead once you start to really get a lot of this information uncovered, once you really start to learn more about it. I mean, all the Robert Greene books pretty much talk about this stuff too, like where we have the 48 laws of power and all that kind of stuff too. It can make you come off as a narcissist and stuff if you play into it, but at the same time, it's better to know these things than to not, right? To be a user of this power than to be subject to it, right? And so that's one of the biggest things is this controls your life to a certain degree. And so I think it's something that you really want to have a lot of awareness around, that you want to really dig into even further and understand a bit more, like getting into these books and stuff too, like Robert Greene's books. I think they're important to go through because it's important to understand like how marketing and how society and governments kind of play on what's innate inside of you, what you've evolved to be, like even playing on the storytelling techniques from the past and stuff too. That's how we used to learn things in ancient times. Like we used to learn everything through stories. Like they would tell us stories about this dark place in the woods where people would go and they would never come back, so they could scare all the kids around the fire and tell them like, hey, don't go into the forest, man, it's dangerous out there. And so that's how they used to learn in the past though. And over time, over hundreds of thousands of years, we've evolved into these beings that we are. And we can't fight nature. You could try and fight nature, but it took hundreds of thousands of years to evolve into this. You can't fight hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. This is just the way things are. It's just the way that we're wired, and it's just the way that we work. And so understanding it on a deeper level, I think, is one of the really important parts of this too. And I think understanding how to reprogram it is another really important thing too, because this is stuff that a lot of people have understood for a millennia too. Like even Socrates back in the day and Marcus Aurelius used to talk about this stuff. Like in ancient times, they had journals and stuff on how to be positive and how to be non-reactive and how to conduct yourself in society to try and win the favor of people in power and that kind of stuff too. And so that's the stuff that we are trying to teach here. That's exactly what we're trying to make courseware around. And that's exactly like where I've gotten this, is just from books and stuff and from these different diaries that these men wrote in the past, and understanding that it's just human nature. It's really just laws of human nature. That's really what it is at the end of the day. And understanding these laws of human nature puts you in the driver's seat, really gives you a certain amount of power over this stuff so that you are not subject to it. And so you can protect the people around you. It's not really using it to your advantage or anything. That's when you become a narcissist, right?
Yeah. And you even said with business, I mean, once you really understand this, and I always say don't use for evil, but you can really, you could be really dangerous if you really understand this in your business and your relationships and all that. And we do it even now. Chase does a lot of my marketing throughout my other companies, and we're always using scarcity. We're always using these concepts to get people to do something. Click here. Only 3 spots left. Only 1 hour left in this deal. And so it does create scarcity, i.e. they want what they can't have. They got to go get it. I want this. They don't know what they want. I'll buy it.
Well, I mean, it happens too when they drive past a yard sale or something like that, and they'll see a whole bunch of things out there that are discounted. They'll see a sale at the store and like, oh, what's discounted? What these things are 50% off. I don't need them, but I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this and this and this. People love spending money, man. It's really what it is, and so that's why marketing plays into these things too. Because, like I said, it's wired in.
We're all marketers. I think this is the biggest takeaway in all of our videos. You are your own brand. You are your own marketing rod. Everything you do, you sell yourself. Unless you work for the government, then you're a net taker. But you don't sell, you don't produce anything, but you sell yourself. So if you start looking at yourself as your own brand and then start going from that angle, everything else in your life will start making more sense of why am I not where I want to be in life? Well, you have a shitty brand. You're out drinking all the time. You're out doing drugs or whatever. You've created such a shitty brand for yourself that nobody wants to buy it.
Well, you're like that discount brand down the corner, right? You're always selling everything under the sun, and nobody really knows exactly what they can get from you. You're always changing your logo. You're always changing your signs outside, all that stuff. You're always trying to like use all these sleazy marketing tactics just to get into people's houses and stuff. And so that's really what your brand is, and that's really what you need to change. That's the first thing you need to start on is changing that brand and making sure that you believe in that brand too, because when you're putting duct tape on everything, when you're trying to stick things together with bubble gum and all that stuff too, it's going to fall apart eventually. You know that you're going to have to do this work eventually, and so it's really doing that work and having that accountability partner and that mastermind around you and that community of people who are going through the same stuff on the same mission, that this stuff really starts to streamline and make a difference. It's really shortening the time between who you are and who you want to be. How much time do you want it to take to get there? If you get the right mentor, you get into the right program with the right people, and all those people are on the same mission, man, like that time is going to shorten and fold up so much that you're going to be there in no time at all. And you'll see other people who are where you want to be too. And they can give you specific advice to get you through the certain things that you're struggling with.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, we're kind of tying it into coaching, but it's just calling you out in your own bullshit. Most of your friends and family, I don't want to say your friends aren't your friends, but if you have friends that agree with the choices you make that aren't helpful, then they're not your friends. You need a dickhead. You need an asshole that says, you're stupid. This is not, no. And that's kind of where coaching comes in, because I'm not your friend. I'm your coach. And so if I've cut in, we usually do 6-week sessions, 12-week sessions, but within those sessions, we have the ability to completely transform that person in whatever area they're stuck on, because I can just cut through their bullshit. Like, listen, you're not lying to me, you know. And so that's what people really need. They need somebody to hold their feet to the fire and really call them out on their bullshit.
And we've seen all the excuses and stuff too. That's the thing. Like, you're not pulling anything I haven't seen. So just understand that. It's coming from a place of wanting to see you succeed. If you have a lot of yes men around you, those people do not want to see you succeed. Those people are not your friends. They're not trying to help you succeed. I'll bet a lot of the people in a lot of cases too. Like, I remember when I first overcame this and got into entrepreneurship, a lot of the people that I knew from my childhood and stuff too, like, we started to get this dissonance, right? They were interested in this stuff and I was interested in this stuff, and they just didn't overlap and align. And I had to completely make new friends, make an entire new life outside of it. So that's just what it had to be.
Same with me. As soon as, like you said, as soon as high school, I mean, I'm still friendly with them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I have nothing in common with them at all. Zero. Matter of fact, most of their wives hate me. I mean, I don't give a shit. But at the end of the day, like you say, you grow into who you want to become. If you're smart, you surround yourself with those people you want to be like. So if you want to be a drunk and do drugs, and you're going to hang out with the 6 people you hang out with at the bar every night, well, then you're the 7th. It's very simple. And I know we're a little bit off topic, but it all does play into this wanting what we can't have. On a level, so you can have what you want. You have to work for it.
It's being more mind strong and more mindful and like really rewiring yourself. That's really where all this stuff kind of ties together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little off topic, but it's not really off topic in the sense that like you're really just trying to control your brain. You're trying to control your impulsive behaviors. You're trying to have more discipline and all that stuff at the end of the day. So let's actually talk before we wrap this up about that a little bit. In your opinion, can gratitude, appreciation, and mindfulness help in overcoming our desires for things that we can't have and finding joy in what we already have? Because I mean, it's like understanding exactly what joy really is, and it's really just prolonged happiness and comfort, and that's what you're robbing yourself of when you're kind of playing into those things.
Yeah, gratitude would be the second one that I was touching on, but gratitude, just enjoy with what you have. Have a grateful heart for what, God woke you up today. I mean, right there, you already won. Right there, be glad that you're healthy. Be glad that your kids are healthy. Even if you have an ex-wife or whatever situation, be glad that they're still healthy. Going down to the basics and just being grateful for what you have. Yes, always try to achieve more, but never lose what you already have in trying to achieve that.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I think that's all ingrained in society and stuff too. Like they've made movies about that kind of stuff too, and like really teaching you the importance of appreciating what you have. Because the thing is you might want something else, but then you might get that thing and turn around and see like, oh, well, I really wanted what I had, and now I can't have that. Just like we talked about before, right? And so I think that it's really important to think through these things. Like I think just stopping sometimes, taking a step back, being non-reactive in the situation and saying, hey, is this something I really want? Is this something I really should be doing? Is this behavior me? Is this something I should be really engaging in? Am I proud of this behavior? Am I proud of myself through this? And I think really sitting down and asking yourself those things is important, because at that point it becomes really obvious to you. Oh, okay, this is not something I should be doing. This is not who I am. I need to completely correct course right now and get on to something that's more productive.
Right. Yeah. And also, and this sounds cold, but it's not if you use in the context is I generally I educate, my clients on just practicing detachment from all outcomes. Right. All outcomes, good or bad, it's neither or. It just is. And if you can really hone in on that and really just accept that good things happen, bad things happen. It's just the situation. Somebody could leave your life. The girl could say, no, I'm not interested in the date. Whatever, detach yourself from the outcome and just be glad. Well, I asked her out, hey, great. Be grateful for that. I had the balls to ask her out. Be grateful for maybe you didn't get the raise. Maybe you didn't get this thing you wanted, this new job. Be grateful you have a job.
And that's the big thing too, is sometimes things happen for you and they seem bad at the time, but they're not really bad. Like sometimes some things in your life need to go away, need to change. The people in your life need to change. Some people need to remove themselves from your life, or you need to remove other people from your life in order to make room for the things that are supposed to be there, in order to make room for what really makes you happy. And so it's really just kind of reframing around those things. Reframing is something we actually talk a lot about in the program and stuff too, and how to reframe. And so that's one of the key tools that you can use to really start to wrap your head around, like, not everything is inherently bad. Sometimes you're just framing it in a bad way. And so you just need to reframe it and look at it from a different angle to really work your way through it.
Right. And like I said, I don't think anything's ever really bad or good. It just is. And if you can just take that simple concept, it just is, you can step back. I think you step back and you can just judge the things in your life as okay, this is happening. Why is this happening to me? Not wishing you could have something else. Why is this person doesn't want to date me? Like you said, maybe there's somebody better that I'm supposed to meet, or what have you, whatever it doesn't matter what the situation is. Just accept it, good or bad. It just is. And then practicing gratitude. That's the biggest one. You hit it. This whole video is that word alone. truly being grateful for what you have, striving for what you want, but grateful for what you have, because you could die tomorrow. You could die right now, and none of that shit is going to matter. That's the key. That's
exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really trying to be happy most of the time. Like, I think that's really your goal in life, is just really, can you be happy as much of the time as possible? Because that's really what it comes down to. Like, you're really robbing yourself of that happiness, of that joy, when you're being attached to these things. And where Jerod said, like, detachment's one of the biggest things we teach in our course and in our coaching program, is because detaching yourself from certain things is really important. Like, it's really understanding what it means to detach yourself from something and not being attached to the outcome, because it makes you non-reactive. Like, it really makes you to a point where, like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that didn't go the way I thought that was going to go. But, there's something coming. You always have to believe that there's something else that's going to happen down the line that was the reason for that happening. Like, for me in my life, I remember a few years ago, I was working at the IRS, in the government, pretty much.
Oh, you damn government.
Money, right? I was working in the business division, talking to business owners and stuff all day. And I remember sitting there in my cubicle, like, just thinking, like, trying to buy a house at the time. I remember I was working really, really hard trying to buy a house. And my wife and I were both working at the IRS. And it was a good job. It was about the best job we could have in that area that we were in. And ultimately, we just thought, okay, well, let's buy the house. Let's live that American dream lifestyle. We'll get the new car. We'll be able to have all the kids and all that stuff in the house. And it was cool. Yeah. But ultimately, all of those plans fell through. Like, every single thing fell through. I ended up quitting that job. I ended up not getting that house. Like, we actually almost closed on a house. Like, we were so close, but just to the point where we just had to sign and it was done. Yeah. But we pulled out of everything. And I didn't understand exactly why at the time. But we were living in a little tiny town in northern Utah at the time. And now we live in Cabo San Lucas. I can see the beach every single day. I walk outside my door here, and it's right there. And so that's the interesting thing, is not understanding exactly why your life goes the way it does, or why some things might seem bad in the moment. They're not really. Your life is going on. It's going to move on. It's going to get to somewhere better. Just start where you are and continue to improve little things every single day. And eventually your whole life will change around you, and you'll be astonished at what it changes into. Right.
Yeah, no, that perfectly said, and just to add a little bit on the detachment side, if you detach yourself from the outcome, you're more present at the now. You're not always thinking this. So the people that you're around, it's not a cold thing. You're not attached, but you're very present with those people. You're very present with yourself. And if you're present with yourself, new ideas, new insights, new opportunities just come to you. Not out of the ether. A lot of it comes from your mind. Says there's a better way to do this. Like perfect example. You were going to live that American dream. I did. I had a house, kids, and all this, and ended up not being what I wanted. And it took me, 30. I was 36 when I went through my divorce. Sort of burned down Rome, reset up everything, and kind of the same thing. I bounced back and forth between here and North Carolina. I wasn't attached to it anymore. I was not attached to the outcomes of what it was. I was just in the now, in the present. This is what I want to do, and this is what I do. So it all plays together. It's an incredible tool to learn. But before you learn the tool, you have to understand how it affects you. How are these principles? How is this guiding principle of always wanting what we can't have? How is it really affecting you in your life? Once you know how it affects you, now it has no control over you. Now you can come to new thoughts and how you can control that better and manage it. And that's kind of where we come in as a coach, to actually help you realize that and then move from there.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like just laying it down. Because the thing is, like, nobody ever gets to a certain point where they're just like, I'm going to change my whole life right now. And so they go and try and find all the tools and resources that they'll need to start like plotting out their blueprint and their roadmap and all that stuff. And they just don't even know where to start. And so that's really where the coaching comes in. Is just like, that's what we're here for. We're here to lay out that roadmap for you. We're here to lay out that blueprint for you. We're here to give you the tools and then be there and make sure that you are doing the work. We're there to hound you and hound you and hound you and not be your friends, but make sure that you're actually achieving the things that you came to us that you said you wanted to achieve.
Yep. That's it. Very simple on that one. I think there's a lot of guys and girls out there that can benefit from this. So if this has resonated with you, I'm sorry.
Well, you don't know what you don't know. And
Right.
so that's the biggest thing is like, you just can't know it. That direction can make so much difference for you.
Yeah.
And so that's really what you're going to get when you try to actually join into this program. And that's why we started out with a free breakthrough session too, to make sure that we can even help you, or you have a problem that we can even help with. Cause like we might be able to just point you towards some resources. That's why I think it's important to schedule that session with Jerod, is because we don't know if we can help you or not yet. We're not going to sell you anything. We're not here to sell you anything here on this call. We're not here to sell you anything through our videos. We're not here to sell you anything on our website. Even when you jump on that breakthrough session, it's not to sell you something. It's to understand if we can even help you, or if maybe we can point you towards some resources that might be able to help you better. There's books that we have. There's other coaches that we have. There's counseling programs and stuff that we can recommend. There's all kinds of things that we can help you with. And so if you're stuck, our goal is to get you unstuck. Our mission is to make sure that you get unstuck and that you get that clarity and you get that direction that you need to move forward in your life, so that you can be in the happiest life that you possibly can, to make sure that you're living the life that you really want to be living and in the lifestyle that you really want to be living in. Because the thing is we've lived a lot of lifestyles. I've worked in corporate America. I've worked in government America. I've actually gone through, bought my house, bought my car, been there, lived the American dream lifestyle. I've lived abroad. I've done the laptop lifestyle. I've started multiple different kinds of businesses, and so is Jerod here. And so that's the thing, is we have a plethora of experience here. If you really want to be living that laptop lifestyle from a beach in Mexico or from a beach out there in Thailand, I can help you get there. I know exactly how to get you there. And so that's the biggest thing. And that's what this program is for. And so understanding that, bring your problems to us, guys. Let us know what you got. Schedule that call with Jerod here. What do you have to lose, right? We're not here to sell you anything. I promise you. If we can help you, and if there's something that we see that makes us a good fit, a good match, and we understand that you can afford it, we're going to make an offer. Sure. So that's really all it is.
Yep. This is a good one today.
This was good.
Go for hours on this one.
We could go on and on and on and on and on, guys. Yeah. But we will be back here same time next week. Yep. Let us know if there's any particular topics you guys want us to cover. If you're watching this after the fact, #replay below. And let us know if there's anything that we can answer for you next week. We're happy to do so. Just leave those comments here. We'll come back and engage with you guys. We'll make sure you guys get your answers. And so, like I said, if you want to schedule that free breakthrough session with Jerod here, make sure you hit our website. That link's below. If you want to check out the original topic that this video was about, that video link is below as well. And make sure you guys get into our Facebook community so you can keep up with our updates and things like that too. Also go to our website and join our newsletter so you can keep up with the updates there as well. And so that's all we had for you guys today. Thank you guys for holding out with us. We want to make sure we're respecting your time. This one's actually starting to get pretty close to the hour. So
thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Jerod.
See you later.